All right, so today we're doing chapter 12, lesson 3, classifying triangles. So we're going to look at the different ways that we can classify triangles, and one of those ways is by using an attribute. So an attribute is a characteristics of the figure, like what sides it has or what angles it has, okay? So once we look at what attributes the triangle has, we can decide whether it's an acute triangle, a scalene triangle, an obtuse triangle, or an equilateral triangle. All right, so here is their example, the book's example of a real world problem. So the Hammond family traveled from Columbus, Ohio to Dallas, Texas, and then to Atlanta, Georgia before returning home. This definitely wasn't during COVID-19 times, was it? So the distance of each flight is shown on the map. So we're going to find the number of congruent sides. Remember, congruent meant equal. So if I look at 729, 573, and 924, are there any congruent sides? Nope, there are no sides that are congruent. None are equal. So we're going to put a 0 here, okay? So now, the length of the sides of the triangle are 924 miles, 573, and what's the missing one? We are looking at 729. Oops. So 729 miles. So that makes it so that none of the sides are congruent. All right. So if we have a triangle where we have two sides are the same, and remember we put those little dashes when they're the same, but we have the second side that's not the same, so it doesn't get the same number of dashes. That makes it an isosceles triangle. So at least two sides are congruent, okay? If you look at an equilateral triangle, all the sides are totally the same, so they get the little same marks there. All right, and then the scalene triangle has none of the sides matching. None of them are congruent. So in this case, it's just like that one they just did with all those different places. You would get 3 different marks because there's 3 different sides. So going back up here, this is a scalene triangle because none of the sides match. Okay, so scalene. Let's check out this other paper or this other page. All right, so now triangles form the sides of the Khafre pyramid in Egypt. Determine the number of acute, obtuse, or right angles in the triangle. So we're going back to what we were doing yesterday with angles. So remember, obtuse are those really big. They're like so big, they're kind of obnoxious, right? They're obtuse. They're bigger than 90 degrees. And then acute means that they're little and they're cute, right? And then right angles are like what you see on doors or walls. They form that nice straight line. They are those L's, okay? So looking at this pyramid, how many angles of the triangle are acute? Well, this one's pretty cute and little, so that would be 1. This one looks like it's almost a right angle, but is it really a right angle? And I'm going to say no. And then this one, another cute one. So how many are acute? 3. Are there any that are obtuse, really big and obnoxious? No. And how many are right angles? And I saw none, so I'm going to put another 0 here. All right, so now if we go down here, we found something that had 3 acute angles. That's going to make it an acute triangle. If we had found one that had a right angle with 2 acute angles, that would make it a right angle because anytime there's a right angle, we go with that. And then anytime there's 1 or more obtuse angles, we call it an obtuse triangle. So the triangle in example 2 is then acute. All right, let's look at this one. So classify the triangle based on its sides. We have 1 that's 4, but we have 2 that are 2, so those are going to match there. So we're looking at that. So we know now, we have 1 that has 2 sides that match. So let's go backwards. This is where the book is really helpful. We have two sides that match, and that makes it isosceles. Okay, so write isosceles on that one. And then this bottom one, classify the triangle based on its angles. This time we're looking at angles. We're not looking at sides. There's definitely a difference here. So this one looks definitely, that's cute. This one is cute. So we have two acute angles so far. And that one is a little too small to be a right angle. So it's another acute angle. So now come back up here. 3 acute angles make an acute triangle. So like I said, keep referring back to those pages until you have these memorized, because that will definitely help you. So the top of your independent practice wants you to determine the number of congruent sides for each triangle. Then classify the triangle based on its sides. So if we look at this one, this number 3 here, we have, nothing matches. So this is 1. This is going to be my number 2. And this I'm going to give 3 lines to because nothing matches, right? So are there any congruent sides? No, there's no congruent sides. So I'm going to put a 0. And then we want to look at its sides and say, if it's based on 3 totally different sides, is it equilateral? No, because none of them are equal. Is it isosceles? Well, no, because 2 don't match. Is it a right triangle with that little guy there? Oh, wait, we're not. I messed up right there. Because we're not looking at the angles, we're looking at the sides. So I'm taking that back. See if I can erase it. Gotta read the directions and then remember what you were doing. I got too excited. Having trouble erasing. Okay, there we go. So now that I've erased, we're going to look at its sides again. Since I have 3 different sides, now I know that it's not equilateral. It's not isosceles. It's going to be scalene. Okay? No, I can't get my pen to work now. So it's scalene triangle. Okay? So really, you're just looking at what the directions are saying, and then you're following them. Okay. So now this 5, 6, 7, 8, you're classifying it by its angles. So be careful. This one has a right angle, so that instantly makes it a right triangle. Okay? And then down here, you just have to draw these triangles. So equilateral, go back in your book. Equilateral meaning they're all the same. And then a right triangle meaning that it has one right angle. Have fun with this, you guys. Once you learn these, hopefully they'll stick in your head and it won't be too hard.